Welcome to the Referrals Podcast, the show designed to help everyone from the solopreneur to the Fortune 500 company win the referral game. If you want to build a company with an army of ambassadors and raving fans who speak highly of you and refer you willingly, you are in the right place. And now, here is your host, Michael J. Maher.
Hey everybody, this is Michael J. Maher with another episode of the Referrals Podcast. Their rumor is out. You want referrals, you've come to the right place. It is Referrals Podcast. And I will tell you, we have a huge announcement. We just crossed 100,000 downloads. I only downloaded like 37,000 of them. So that means you're at 63,000 listeners. I just want to say, as we go into our third season of Referrals Podcast, thank you so much for being a listener, being a viewer. A lot of you watch this on YouTube, I know, and you're especially going to want to watch this one on YouTube. And a lot of you also just download it on iTunes every single month, every single week, and really, really appreciate that. And then there are those of you that do Google Play and Stitcher, and we love you as well. Thank you for the downloads. And the downloads I'm talking about are iTunes, 100,000 downloads. That's incredible. I'm so blessed. That's amazing. So here's the thing. I'm going to give you 4 options, and listeners, you can only choose one. You can only choose one of these, right? You can 1, be liked. You can 2, be respected. You can 3, be trusted. Or you can be 4, be referred. Which of those 4 would you prefer to be if you could only choose one? Would you choose 1, be liked, 2, be respected, 3, be trusted, or 4, be referred? I know it's a tough decision, but raise your hand if you're 1, you want to be liked, right? That's your number 1 choice. Now here's the other thing. Raise your hand if you're a 2 and you want to be respected. That's your only choice. You're not going to be liked. You're not going to be trusted. You're not going to be referred, but you're going to be respected. Now, here's the other, number 3, trusted, right? You want to be trusted, but you're not going to be respected. You're not going to be liked. You're not going to be referred, but you're going to be trusted. Or would you choose 4, you want to be referred? Raise your hand if you want to be referred. Now, here's the thing on that is, listen, I don't know what the secret to success is, but I can tell you right now, the secret to failure is choosing number 1. If you're choosing to always be liked and you're a people pleaser and you're going to be so strung out, you're going to be so tired, you're going to be so frustrated. And the bottom line is listen, if you chose be liked, then I want you to do some soul searching. I want you to maybe analyze where you're coming from. Now, be respected. That means you're really good at something and people respect you, or they fear you, right? Whatever it may be. Then, hey, listen, if that's good for you and that works for you, I'm telling you, go for it. But the other part of it is it's short-lived. It's short-lived and it's definitely not loved, right? Mm-hmm. And the bottom line is rather than iron will and mastering fear, master love, right? Then trusted, right? And a lot of people, I'd love to be trusted. Like we all want to be trusted, but here's the thing is, trust is your high integrity, high character. That's fantastic. But I want to talk about number 4. Many of you chose number 4, and I get it, because being referred somewhat implies that you're liked, respected, and trusted. I love that. But here's the difference with referred. Number 1, it pays better to be referred. Trust me on that. Like the other 3 don't pay well. Now, they could eventually pay well, but number 4 is guaranteed to pay well. But here's what I want to tell you about the psychology of number 4 is that different than the first 3. When you are referred, people are taking action on your behalf. Mm-hmm. The definition of influence is people are willing to move and take action for you. When you get a referral, it shows that you are influential. People are taking action on your behalf. And many times when you aren't even in the room or you aren't even around, So you need to measure your success by, are you getting referrals? And I will tell you that leads us perfectly into today. I've been so excited. I know that this has been on the docket for a month. And today is the Psychology of Referrals. And we have Dr. Sherry Helgoe here. Sherry is a nationally recognized industry consultant and a thought leader in not just the real estate industry, but all across industries. As a clinical psychology professor at Pepperdine University, she is a practicing psychologist, coach, and business consultant. Sherry understands a diverse range of challenges facing her students and clients. Her expertise in these areas allow her to integrate business building psychology strategies to help individuals excel in real estate, mortgage, and title industries. Her unique point of difference is that she applies and teaches psychology theories and has developed a way in which you too can learn the significant aspects of solution-focused communication and positive psychology systems to grow your business. Sherry's her psychology strategies were wildly implemented during the short sale REO crisis of 2007 through 2010. And she has been a content provider to CAR, California Association of Realtors, NAR, and Inman News. Let me share with you, all of you, that first of all, we've had a lot of smart people on Referrals podcast. And today we have probably our smartest person. We've had a lot of brilliant people on Referrals podcast, but today we probably have the most brilliant. And I will tell you, it's one of those things where it's like, we're all going to get a lot smarter today. And I will tell you, this is a strategy that I'm implementing right now. One of the ways to get smarter is to hang around with smarter people. One of the ways for people to assume you're smarter is to hang around smart people. So many of you will start to assume that I'm a little smarter today because we have our guest on. So I want to welcome to the show, welcome to Referrals Podcast, Dr. Sherry Helgoe. And I have to tell you, I'm going to start calling you Dr. Sherry, like Oprah had Dr. Phil. I've got a Dr. Sherry in the house, right? So welcome to Referrals Podcast.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here today.
Well,
These are my favorite topics.
Yeah, I get to give a shout out to Ron Garber as well, as he referred me to you, and I'm very much appreciative of that. I also need to give a shout out to Rob Law at First American Title, who also referred you, right? So you were referred by several people to come on Referrals Podcast. Our pre-call was awesome. I kept saying, be quiet. Let's make sure we cover that on the call, because all that comes out of this woman's face is brilliance, is amazing. So, let's jump right in. Like, why don't people get referrals? Like, I mean, isn't that like a great starting question? Like, there are people out there who don't get referrals. Why don't they get referrals?
I think it's a great question. And, I think the main part, well, I think we're going to cover it in two parts today. I think it's the way you communicate, way you ask questions, but I also think it's, which we'll dive into more on your other summit.
Yeah, the summit.
Yeah. But I think fear is the most interesting thing because it's such a complex emotion and it leads our brains to the imagined consequences. It is an action-oriented, forward-focused emotion that then has our body triggered and it impacts our behavior. And so the behaviors that I'm talking about, it's almost like what you talk about, Michael. It's like, on your 7 layers of communication, how important it is to do one-on-one, where people, when they start having a lot of fear, will do emails instead. Things that we find out is their procrastination, perfectionism. If they don't do it just right, they're not going to do it at all. And most significantly, because fear is the thing that keeps you from doing the work that will grow your business.
Well, I think you just hit on a really important point from the aspect of the 7 levels of communication. Yeah. Is what you're saying is that, trace it back, is why don't people get referrals? They don't communicate properly. Right. Why don't they communicate? I mean, what I love about how you always talk is you kind of go to this core of the human being. I mean, it's like I talk from the sense of, well, you're not getting referrals because you're not following the 7 levels of communication. You're not in the influential zone. Phone call, events and seminars, one-on-one
Right.
meetings. And I go, well, just do it that way. And what you're saying is, they'll see the pyramid and they'll go, oh, well, electronic communication's on there, email's on there. So I'm going to do email because I fear the upper levels more than I fear the email.
Right.
And so, yeah, so I do know, by the way, if people here are interested in how going from fear to action will serve you better, we do not have time to go into scope and depth of that during this referrals podcast. But for those of you that are interested, we have the Smart Restart Summit. And you can go to Gen 2020, GEN, which is short for Generosity Generation, of course, gen2020.com. And we're going to show you how to make 2020 your best year ever. Can you imagine after all the craziness? I mean, murder hornets, we've got eagles carrying sharks, we've got COVID, we've got coronavirus, we've got an election year, we've got, what if we could show you how in the last 4 to 5 months of the year to make 2020 your best year ever? That's what we've done. We've collected all-stars like Dr. Sherry, but that whole thing is about taking action. The whole Smart Restart is about taking action and how to take action in today's environment. We've got Keeping Current Matters to talk about where the opportunities are today. We've got Kevin Harrington, Shark Tank Shark, speaking of sharks, who is going to keynote and specifically talk to you about what's working in today's market. So that's all on Gen 2020. Listen, it's only $49 or $99. It's the cheapest ticket in the country. And it's July 23rd, half day in the afternoon. And Dr. Sherry will be diving deep into the whole aspect of how fear plays a role in taking action. But I want to talk about like referrals specifically.
Okay.
So with referrals, like I'm gonna ask you some questions that are not on here. So hopefully you're okay with that. Cause I really want your psychology. I mean, what an interesting viewpoint on the human psyche that you have, and so think about people that you refer, like professionals that you refer.
Okay.
So describe those people who you refer. Like, how would you describe them?
That I refer?
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. I refer to people that it's not a specialty that I'm working with in my practice, I will refer to somebody else that has that specialty. But I have a unique business in that I can't solicit anybody for business. I can only get referrals. And so
I'm going to pause on that.
Okay.
I want everybody to imagine, like, you can't do any marketing. You can't do any soliciting. You can't do any of the typical prospecting methods. Her business has to be 100% referral. And there are a lot of doctors who are in that same boat, that the only way for them to get business is through referral. Do you think that Dr. Sherry has like a focus on referrals? Like how do you, so I want to talk about that. And then I want to talk about the flip side is people you don't refer or wouldn't refer. And then I also want to talk about what's in common with the people who refer you, like thinking of the people who refer you. So the first one is, who do you refer and how do you determine who you refer?
Well, I determine by the quality of the work that they do. I'm always concerned with the quality of work that I do because my reputation is out there for someone that I refer to. So let's say I'm working with a couple and they want to see an individual therapist. I'm certainly going to make sure that I refer to somebody that I trust, that has a good reputation and is very ethical. The interesting thing about my business as well is that I can't get testimonials, which is so bizarre. It used to make my husband so aggravated that this is the worst business model because I can't get testimonials. So referrals then that come to me from other clients or from other psychologists, then it's this kind of this trusted circle, and we refer back, we refer to each other based on specialties. Yeah. And so I think the interesting thing that you're talking about then is that when somebody calls for business, I don't take insurance, so that makes it even a little bit more tricky. I have to be able to sell my services immediately and to get them to come in, I have to give them solutions that they're implementable when they're there so that they then use them and they make the decision to come back every week to pay me a lot of money. So it's the idea of, I like to work on strategies that get people to turn their lives around quickly so that they have, so that they have some kind of proof that their lives are changing towards a more productive or more happier or more peaceful way. And it's always the selling that I'm doing, the selling of ideas in a genuine way. And I'm a high I.
Yeah. Yeah. So high I, for those of you that have listened to Referrals podcast, you're very familiar with what she just referenced. If you're not, there is a test called DISC where you basically tell the test what you are, and then the test tells you back what you are, right? Which makes a lot of sense, right? So it's like there's the D, who is a dominant personality, very straight to the point. I is very social influencer. S is steady and dependable, very cautious, very peaceful. And then the C is cautious and perfectly accurate. Many CPAs, engineers, and detail-oriented people tend to fall under the C. Everybody is everything, but typically we have one dominant. We have one that is subdominant, second dominant, and then we have a fourth, which is just as important, which is a super weakness, right? Which is the one that you aren't. Like for me, I'm a not S off the charts, and sometimes the not S is more important than my secondary I. And so that's the DISC. If you want more information on that, you can always check into Michael Abelson's DISC application. He's got one of the best, Dr. Michael Abelson. He's been on, he's a friend of the show, and would love for you to check him out. And I think what we're diving into today is like, she runs a referral only business because she has to. No testimonials, no marketing, no promotion. And she's also a psychologist. So, she's going to think about this and then overthink about this. And that's what I want. So the people you refer falls into the same thing we've talked about, which is high character, right? There's three elements, in my opinion, to referability. It's character, competence, right, and communication, the three C's of referability, right? And so you have these people that you refer to, and you've referred them repeatedly because they're going to be able to help and solve the person's problem, and it's also going to maybe even make your reputation and your relationship with the person you referred even better.
100%.
Yeah. So let's talk about, like, there's people you don't refer, correct? That have the same specialty as somebody you do refer.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So and they oftentimes
we're not naming names here,
right? But they don't have follow-up.
Okay.
They don't have follow-up.
Communication.
They don't follow up when they say they're going to do something. They don't follow theory, which I think is a really important thing to do in psychology, is to follow theoretical. So you don't become an opinion person, you become someone that helps somebody make their own decisions. So for me, we've talked a lot about communication. I take communication from two standpoints. I take communication from a solution-focused standpoint, and I also take communication from a positive focus standpoint. And so I think one of the things that I'm passionate about is positive psychology. And what I like about positive psychology, it's the science of well-being. It's not based on maybe this works, maybe it doesn't. It's only based on research that shows that these actual interventions or tools that I can share with you are proven to be true beyond a reasonable doubt. So that's what I like about positive psychology. And so when we look at why people don't get referrals, the first thing I think about is that while there is fear, and fear narrows your focus, we want to focus on things that can broaden your focus. Because when you broaden your focus and include more positive emotions, you're more curious, you're more creative, and you're more willing to take positive kind of risks because you're feeling better. So I have two things that I can talk about that are helpful. I have a scaling tool that I find works really well to kind of improve your mood yourself, but also help you. It's a tool that can help you with sales. I've done a lot with title with this tool that we can talk about today. I don't know if you want to do that one. And I also can talk about like positive mood induction and some of the things that you can do to create a positive, it's actually a science, it's been researched, positive mood induction will change the way with which you approach conversations.
Yeah. So positive mood induction. We got to talk about, so what is positive mood induction, and how can it help get referrals? Because that's really what this show is all about. I mean, it's get referrals. In fact, the number one phrase that we use in our titles and descriptions, we've tracked it, is get referrals. Right. So what is positive mood induction, and how's it going to help everybody get referrals? How's it help you get referrals, and how's it help others get referrals?
Well, it's the coolest thing. I even did it before I started this conversation with you. I do it quite a bit. And so it's something that's easily implementable. And that's the thing I like about the tools that I use, is they're implementable. It doesn't take a long time to practice them. So when you start looking at a positive mood induction in the literature, there's evidence in the literature that suggests that people who experience greater positive affect, and there's 10 different positive emotions, by the way, that we don't pay attention to. In fact, there's 3 positive things that usually happen for every 1 negative thing, but we focus on the negative. So if you can find a way to begin to experience greater levels of positivity and have a positive affect, which includes having better outcomes in the workplace, you will do better than the people who don't have that positive mood induction. It's really interesting.
How does that happen? Like, how do I do that? How do I tap into that? And it's so amazing what you just said, is like, for any negative thing that ever happens, there are probably 3 positives that we're either overlooking or just can't see. And you know,
and you don't know that, and you don't know the 10 words of the positive emotion, so that you don't even know to look for them. There's 10 very specific ones, from subtle to extreme, that if you begin to,
do you know those? Do you have those on there? Do you have them in front of you? Like 10, that's a lot. What are they? We want to know, right?
You want to know? Let me get my glasses.
I want to know. I mean, I got to know, right? I'm the most curious guy on the planet. Like, I did not know this. Like, there's 10, so there's 10 positive emotion words. There's probably 50 negative emotion words, right? I mean, isn't it interesting that I think there's like seven common feelings, or 7 common emotions, and like 2 of them are positive and 5 of them are negative. Is that right?
That's right. You know why?
No, I just made that up.
From an evolutionary standpoint, negative emotions kept us safe, like fear, anger, and sadness. Those were all saying that something was wrong. So we had to become negative and focus on those in order to deal with loss, anger of being taken advantage of, or fear that something was going to happen to you. Positive emotions never really had a place to settle into us. And so therefore, they're not quite as noticeable. And positive psychology talks about introducing positive emotions into your daily round, become aware of them, label them, name them, talk about them, so that then you can experience them more, and then you naturally have more of a positive mood induction. I mean, the study was done, which is fascinating, with a bag of candy, and how that will help doctors, students, people doing GRE. I mean, it's amazing what a bag of candy will do for a positive mood induction.
We got to talk about that. Hold a second. So I'm already happier just because you brought up a bag of candy. And part of me feels anger and frustration and sadness because I can't eat the bag of candy. The other part of me feels love and joy because I love candy, and it makes me happy when I eat candy. And that's all a basis of sugar. So tell me, what's the scoop of the bag of candy? How's it help? How's it kick in? How's it relate to positive mood induction?
Okay. So what they've done with the research is they had this bag of candy, and they noticed when students used to go to do their exam, the GRE, in order to get into school, when they were given a bag of candy, they did far better than students that weren't given a bag of candy. It's so bizarre, this research that was done on candy. If you bring candy to a doctor, he'll be more thorough when he's reading your chart and giving you an exam. If you give it to 6th graders, they will do better on their own tests. Positive mood induction, this is kind of a quick story with candy, but positive mood induction is something that you can do, like thinking of if you smile, your body feels different. If you think of a positive mood before you make a phone call, you will be more positive. If you close your eyes and do kind of like I just did it last week with Pepperdine. I teach at Pepperdine positive psychology, and every week I have a positive mood induction kind of activity that they have to do, and they write about it. And over the course of 14 weeks.
I'm going to totally interrupt you because there's so much to unpack with what you just said. No, I mean, it's just like there's so much brilliance in all of this. So, I mean, I literally have like 19 things I want to say. So I'm going to stick it to like 4. So number 1, I will tell you that if you want to get better service on a plane, When you are buying your water or buying whatever you do before you get your snack, before you get on the plane, you buy a bag of Skittles or a bag of M&Ms and you give it to the flight attendant before you go in. When you go on the flight and you go, oh, I got this for you. Now, I don't know how that plays with COVID-19, but we did this before and we would get first class service even if we weren't in first class because we gave, it's like a little bribe, No,
but what it was a positive mood induction. It's the perfect example of what you've done for somebody.
So another example, my son plays baseball and he plays all kinds of sports, but I will tell you that one of the things that we do before, like if he has 2 games or 3 games in a day, before the second game or before the third game, we will give him a bag of M&M peanuts. So, or we'll buy 2 and we'll say, all right, let them share this. I'm sure the COVID-19 people are loving me right now. And so give this to the team because otherwise he'd have his and then it's like everybody else is looking at it and he can't share it. So he's got a bag to share and he's got a bag to keep and eat. And it is amazing how often he will do better in that game. And we always considered it was an energy boost from the sugar or whatever it may be. But what it was is a positive mood induction, you know? And then another example of this that's so good is we do these buyer consultations in real estate. And we will go through and we will say, hey, listen, you're going to get the home, you're going to negotiate. Maybe you get the home. And I want you to know something. That night that you sign the contract on the home, the seller is going to be staring at the ceiling going, oh crap, I just gave away my home and now it's really real. But you as the buyer are also going to feel an emotion.
Right.
This emotion is called buyer's remorse. You're going to feel like, oh crud, I'm scared. And here you go. We give them a prescription bottle and inside the prescription bottle are M&Ms or Skittles. And we say, when you feel the buyer's remorse, we want you to take the buyer's remorse pills. And it actually says on the prescription, it says, take for buyer's remorse, right? And just take the buyer's remorse pills. You'll feel better in the morning. We suggest you take 2 and then call me in the morning. And then we'll go through and talk about the rest of the buyer's consultation. But it is uncanny how often people are like, oh my gosh, I totally felt that. I ate the 2, those are M&Ms, right? I'm like, yeah, they're M&Ms. But it's like, I took 2 M&Ms, I felt better. And you know what? I just wanted to call you and let you know I'm fine. We got a good deal on the house.
So that's what you've been doing.
Yeah. So
you're an expert at it.
And the other part too, that I love about what you're talking about is, so many people are just like, feel better, do better, go, just be better, just do it. But what you're saying is we need strategy. Right. To induce a more positive mood. And in this case, it's a bag of candy or something like that.
Well, you could do other things. You could have music that you like to listen to. You can have a book that, that are next to your desk that reminds you of something positive. You can have a photograph. I mean, there's all kinds of things, special cards, special notes, and when you've done a really good job for somebody in business, keep that on your desk. It'll remind you then, that gives you a natural positive mood induction, reminding that you've done a good job for somebody, even when you're having a more challenging day. I mean, and then we can get to optimism and pessimism, which are how you explain bad events to yourself. But I don't, there's other things that we could talk about. But I think the tool that I think is most effective, it's called a scaling tool. And we have enough time, Michael, to talk about that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. 2 or 3 minutes here.
What I find is most effective is it's what's called a scaling tool. And
how do you spell that?
Scale. It's SCALING tool. TOOL. Scaling tool.
Okay. Scaling tool.
Scale.
Yep. Getting bigger.
I'll show you a picture of it. It looks like this. So I know that for people that aren't on the video, it looks.
Yeah. So it looks like a T with a 10. It looks like an I with a 0 on the bottom
and a 0 on the bottom and a 10 at the top. Okay.
Perfect.
And so then I would say to somebody, and I do this with therapy clients, I do this with people that I coach, and I do this with students or anybody. So I say, okay, on the scaling question let's just do it for sales or for getting referrals. 0 is the worst day you've ever had. And you want to use extremes. It's the worst day you've ever had in getting referrals. And 10 is just the best day, just the absolute best day that you have. On this scale between 0 and 10, I want you to mark where you think you are on the scale by drawing a line. So then what you do is you have this line.
Okay.
And so somebody puts the line and they say, you know what, I'm about a 5, or let's say I'm a 4 today. I'm feeling like I'm a 4, right?
Yeah.
So then what the solution focused way of asking questions is this. And remember, questions are powerful because every time you ask a question, you orient somebody's focus.
Yeah.
I can focus that moment and say, tell me what you haven't done. And I can focus and say, tell me what you have done.
Mm-hmm.
You will feel better when I talk with you about what you have done. And you will also feel better if you do this just for yourself. So then I say, you're a number 4. Okay, so tell me, what are all the things that you're doing? You're not a 0. So tell me all the things that you're doing to get yourself to a number 4. Guess what we're doing? We're absolutely creating a positive mood induction. You're feeling better about the things that you're doing to get yourself to a 4. I could have said, why aren't you a 5? Then we'd be talking about the things they weren't doing, but I want to focus on the things that people are doing.
Oh my gosh.
And so then they focus on that, all the things that they're doing. And so then if I want to say, let's just go up 10%. That's why I like to start with 0. If we're just going to go up 10%, what are some of the things that you can do based on here to just jump your business up just 10%? And guess what? That's a measurable goal. It doesn't seem so vast that you're having to figure out, how am I going to get to a 10? I'm just going to say, if you were to go up 10% this week, what would you do? What would you add to what you're already doing? Like, can you feel right now how better that conversation feels? Like, what are you going to add to what you are doing? Now, somebody always says, yeah.
Can I try it with you right now?
Yeah.
I'm going to try it, and then I want you to coach me on how I did. So on a scale of 1 to 10.
0 to 10.
0 to 10. And I love the 0. I love the 0 more than I do the 1, right? So on a scale of 0 to 10, how would you rate your night's sleep last night?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, this is a question for me.
Yeah.
My night's sleep last night? I would say my night's sleep last night was a 7.
7. So what made it great? So it's not a 0 or a 1 or a 2.
Right.
So it's a 7. 7 is a solid night's sleep. So what made it a solid night's sleep?
Well, I went to bed at a reasonable time. My dogs didn't bump me in bed. I went to bed being grateful for the day. I always write down 3 things that I'm grateful for, because science, again, has proven that will actually rewire your brain. If you do it for 6 months, it'll actually make you, from the science, 9% happier than someone that doesn't do that.
Yeah, you're selling the heck out of my Sweet Dreams class. I just want you to know that. We teach Sunday night ritual and nightly ritual, a class that actually takes place at night. And then we do the ritual. Part of the ritual is affirmations, appreciations, evaluation, and clearing and doing the gratitude at night, and helping rewire the brain. So I love that. So what else made it a 7? What else made it a strong night's sleep?
I had my window open, it's been hot, so I had my window open, and I love the feeling of air coming in when I'm sleeping. And the room was just like the perfect temperature. And it was just a nice night, and I was looking forward to today. And so those are the types of things that made it a 7.
Yeah, I love that.
So
how about an 8? What tweak could you make to maybe help tonight? So let's say the window's open tonight. You do your typical evaluation at night, and you're clearing your head and clearing your mind, and you've got the dogs away from the bed. Like what would make it just like an 8 tonight?
Well, if I didn't have to get up in the middle of the night and go to the bathroom.
Okay, there you go.
So stop drinking water so late.
Oh, bang. So how much control do you have over that?
A lot.
100%.
100%.
So how great is that? So hey, we'll talk tomorrow about your 8 level sleep.
But the other thing, that there's 3 levels. The thing that you can do, even when somebody says it's a 0, so people are like, so then you can take this to somebody and do it as a business skill. You can go to somebody and say, tell me where's your business right now on a scale from 0 to 10? You see how it applies? I love how I can help you personally, but help you professionally. So I say, you see how we're doing this right now? Tell me all of the things right now that you're doing well to get your business to a 5. And then what can I help you in here to do? I mean, there's all kinds of things. You're validating, you're reinforcing, you're making them feel good about the progress. Now, let's say if I could help you jump up to here, what do you think that I could do to help you? You're solution building, you're not problem solving.
What is this called?
That's a scaling question.
Scaling. So these are scaling questions. I have to tell you that this is brilliant. I learned something today because here's the thing. I have taught the thermometer script, and I use the thermometer script, which is that 0 to 10 script. You know, it's like, you know, on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0, you know, you're just curious, and 10, you're looking to buy a home today. Where do you find yourself on that scale, right? 2 or what? And my follow-up question is always like, what would it take to make it a 10? Or if they say 10, what would it take to make it a 10 plus? So I'm always looking for the better, always looking for the, but it's kind of like, I'm kind of always looking for the weakness too, you know,
you are
or the
100%.
negative.
You're 100%.
And instead, what I'm going to do from now on, and I do this with my son all the time. It's like on a scale of 1 to 10, how was practice? And he goes, you know, it was a 7. And I go, well, what would it take to make it a 10, right? And instead of focusing on the gap, I need to focus on the whole. And the whole is what made it a 7. What
exactly. So you will make him feel better about what he's done to get it to a 7.
That's right.
And then you can just say, you know, are you happy with the 7? What would make it an 8? But one of the things that I want to say that people get scared about using this tool in business is this. What if they say it's a 0?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, what if they say it's a 0? You know the question you ask them?
What made it a 0?
How do you cope? How do you cope? Because what you're doing in that moment is you're still focusing on hope and how do they cope? It's still a positive thing if they're still able to cope. So how can we even bump it to a 1?
Yeah.
You know, what could I do to help you bump it to a 1? You're only coming in. I
do
always
people
say
really say 0?
I've had my clients, that are really depressed.
Wow.
Yeah. How do you cope? And then we go through the things that they're doing to cope. And guess what? They come back the next week higher because they weren't paying attention to the things that they're already doing to cope. And I made coping a positive skill set.
Yeah. Yeah. Survive. Right. How did you survive? How did you cope? That's I love that. This scaling is, we have only scratched. Every time I talk to you, I feel like we scratch the surface. It's like I'm making people wait for the Smart Restart Summit for your incredible material on going from fear to action. I feel a little dirty. I feel a little bad about doing that. But here we are on the scaling questions, and I'm literally going to implement this today. And it is so big. The power of questions. All the time people are like,
100%.
you know, I talk all the time about what is your biggest challenge now? You know, what have you tried so far? What are you going to do next? What's the first next step? Who can help you with that? You know, by when are you going to have it done? You know, that kind of thing. And these questions actually step people through a process of healing or a process of
100%.
Solution. And what a better, I'm adding that question to my repertoire right now, is what made it a 7? What makes it a 2? What makes that a 5? And learning the positives before we talk about the improvement, because the improvement and the strategy around the improvement more likely to happen because 100%. They're in a positive mood. We've induced the positive mood. Yes.
100%. And on top of that, people like to talk about themselves.
Oh yeah.
People like to talk. Guess what you're doing? You're having them talk about themselves. You're validating it. And then we can get into a whole nother topic about mirror neurons, which is one of the best things you can do when you're doing
mirror what?
Mirror neurons. What?
Neurons? Man, that's a really tough, mirroring neurons.
Yep.
They got to come up with a different phrase.
No, like a mirror neuron. I'll give you an example.
Reflective neurons?
It's from research, so you have to use their word. Mirror neuron.
Mirror
neuron. So like, I'll give you an example real quick.
Yeah.
But this isn't for sales, but if somebody yawns, you yawn.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right. If somebody falls, you grimace. It's like we have mirror neurons going on all the time. So if you can learn to communicate with those in the process of sales, you'll naturally, number one, build rapport, which I know is incredibly important for you. And you will naturally have empathy, which oftentimes people get confused, empathy and sympathy. So, you know, sorry, I'm going too
No,
wide.
no. I'm going to comment to that, Dr. Sherry, I have a phrase that I call question reciprocity. Okay. question reciprocity is that people are likely to repeat back the exact same question that you ask them. So like, how you doing? And the other person goes, fine. How you doing? Like the exact same phrase comes back to you. Well, you can actually use this strategically.
100%.
And you can go through with, tell me about your family, all about family. And I'm using frog right now for everybody. And so I recreate. What do you do for fun? What do you do when you're not doing what you do? And have you gone to vacation anywhere cool? What's your travel experience? Have you traveled with COVID? And then you go to the O, which is occupation. Tell me about your work. Tell me what you do. What kind of things have you done in your work? What got you into it? What are you most passionate about? And then you go into goals. It's like, all right, what are your goals? And so they're going to talk about family goals or recreation goals or occupation goals. Many times they do talk about occupation goals, but not always. Sometimes they'll go to a golfing goal or they'll go on a travel goal. But it's up to them. But you immediately know what's most important to them because they have a goal for it and it's either F, R, or O. Well, then it says, what are your goals? And you talk about their goals a little bit, and then you go, oh my gosh, you probably feel like this is a game of 20 questions. You've answered all my questions, but honestly, I'm genuinely curious in learning more about you. But before we go on, do you have any questions for me? Well, Dr. Sherry, knowing what you know, and I'm putting you on the spot here, but it's like, what question do you think they asked me back after I asked that question?
I would say that they would ask you a similar question based on your FROG acronym.
Yeah, they would ask me, what are my goals?
Depending on their interest, but whatever their interest is. Like if you talked about baseball and somebody like baseball, then they would go back. That's a mirror neuron thing again, by the way.
That's all of
That's why we use common language. When we use language that people are talking with and we use their language, it's mirror neuron. It builds trust. And that's one of the things that you're doing for repeat business, for reputation, for all the things that we talked about earlier. It's building trust by using their words. Again, that's a mirror neuron concept.
And that's what's so great about it is after you say, what are your goals? They tell you about your goals, their goals, and you talk about their goals. And then you go, hey, any questions for me? They say, well, what are your goals? And then wouldn't it be great if people asked you what your goals were? And so when somebody says, what are your goals? We need to be ready to answer, right? My referral goal is to give 10 referrals and receive 5 high quality referrals every single day. So it's one of those where it's like that mirroring neurons is it really is powerful when it comes to question reciprocity.
100%.
Is stop and pause. Whatever question you want somebody to ask you, ask them first, and then ask if they have any questions for you. And now that may sound manipulative or strategic or whatever, but it's also just part of conversation, It's a
part of building rapport. I mean, if you have good intentions, it's rapport. If you have bad intentions, it's manipulation. So
there you go.
I just, I'm only talking from a place of good.
That's right.
Because manipulation, you'll always lose. So.
It never works, right? It never works. It never works. So I love this. This is amazing. I do apologize slightly for the audience that we did not go into your bridge between fear and action, because that may cure a lot of their problems forever. And I will tell you that the added question of what makes it a blank number on that thermometer scale, on a scale of 0 to 10, where are you at on buying? They say a 7. Okay, what makes it a 7? What? And then we can go into, all right, what would it take to make that a 10?
But you only go up 10% because you scare people if you go up too much. And you can actually stay in there and answer all their questions. You don't necessarily have to ask the follow-up question of going above. But you could figure out where the gaps are in people's business plan by focusing on, if you're paying attention, if you focus on where they are from 1 through 5, you could say, you know what I was thinking about in that area that you're already doing really well. And what if we added this? You don't even have to ask the next 10% question. You can just say, what would you think about adding this? Then you're the cautious people that are kind of like we talked about earlier. The cautious people, you don't necessarily want to bump them up. You want to just kind of help them validate where they are. There's all kinds of strategies behind that. I know we have to go. I'm sorry.
No, I love that. We got to bring you on again. This is happening. Like Dr. Sherry is going to become like Dr. Phil on Oprah, right? It's going to be, this is the first one. Then we're going to have another one. Then we're going to have another one. And then it's going to be the Dr. Sherry show and I can retire. Right. And it's just like, you know what, we're going to have a spinoff from the Referrals podcast. It's going to be the Dr. Sherry show. And I think that people would love that. So here's the thing. I will tell you, I do also need to give a shout out to John Evans Jr. He said, Michael's system is the best formula for generating business through referrals by showing love and appreciations to others. It's the way to do business. And John Evans Jr. left that as an iTunes review. We encourage you to please review Referrals podcast on iTunes. We do appreciate those, and people do read those. Trust me on that, especially me and my team. I will tell you what, today's show was off the charts. We all learned something today. We all got a little smarter. We all got a little bit more brilliant because of you, Dr. Sherry. Thank you so much for being our guest on Referrals podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's one of my favorite topics, and I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, Michael.
Fantastic. If you want more referrals, if you want more business, if you want more happiness, if you want more health in your business, if you want more of Dr. Sherry, sign up for the Smart Restart Summit at GenGen 2020, GEN 2020.com. It's only $49 or $99. Most people are choosing the $99 ambassador package, but it's up to you. We charge you a little bit to get you to show up. So we will see you on July 23rd. And once again, all of you, thank you so much for tuning in to the Referrals podcast, and we will see you next time. Love you.